Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Ross the Boss, Legacy of Blood, Fire, and Steel, out April 28th on AFM Records. This album has 12 tracks, 50 minutes in length. This is a greatest hits compilation, and they are an American heavy metal band. Now, this compilation celebrates 15 years of Ross the Boss, and in those 15 years, the band has released 4 records. Now, I'm not surprised that they took songs from all 4 records. I am surprised that they took it in a chronological order. The album starts off with songs from the first record, moving into the second record, third record, and then obviously finishing off with their most recent album. This is a nice design, is a nice way of creating more fluidity, making the album a lot more engaging, making the album a lot more entertaining, but also allowing the listener to see the growth and sound and execution that the band has had over those 15 years and 4 records. It's also a little bit of a history lesson. It allows you to see where the band was and where the band is, celebrating the new lineup while still connecting with the history and past of the band. So I really enjoyed this design because it's a design that makes the record feel together, that it gives power to the overall collective, and you can see it in the way the album starts and the way the album finishes, and with a song like Great God's Glorious in the middle, the perfect interlude style track to really bridge side A with side B. This record is definitely built like an old school album and not necessarily taking the normal approach with a compilation / greatest hits, which is just throw songs together without really putting any concern in terms of fluidity or dynamic between the tracks, and then obviously how those impact the overall sound experience of an album. Now, as far as sound is concerned, I mean, you're going to get Ross the Boss. This is the greatest hit, so it's not like they're reinventing the wheel. It's not like you're going to get a folk metal album, but the DNA of the band is alive and well throughout the entire record, but it's more about how that DNA has slightly emerged and changed from the beginning all the way until now. When you look at the songs from the first 2 records, which is the first half of the album, you see more of a Manowar influence into that sound. Those roots, the connection with Manowar was perhaps a little bit more alive at that point in time in the legacy of Ross the Boss. When you look at the third album and the fourth album, perhaps not as much. You see the sound changing, evolving, becoming more the DNA of the band, an individual DNA, and not relying as much on elements that became really popular with Manowar. So from a soundscape point of view, the album changes quite a bit. You can see the different chapters of the band, perhaps a little bit more defined between side A and side B, first 2 albums, last 2 albums, but still a sense of growth and sound, but a sound that's always powerful, that always derives from 2 main core elements, guitars and vocals. The guitars are obviously magnificent, that old school style classic heavy metal sound with some power metal elements that really pushes them into the forefront, ignites the experience of the songs, and then pushes the listener not just from track to track but within the tracks themselves. The guitars are definitely the starting point on every single song from Ross the Boss, and they are the starting point on every single song on this compilation. But the other cornerstone is definitely the vocals. Mark Lopez is outstanding. He's an incredible vocalist. Not that the band has had previous vocalists that didn't deliver, but I don't think anybody can really give justice to Ross the Boss tracks the way Mark Lopez does. He's phenomenal. He has the right delivery, he has the right range, and it's very dynamic in that range. He's not a one-size-fits-all style singer. He's just a singer with a lot of tools. And when you see him performing these songs, you're going to see the quality that he brings, the quality that he adds to every single line, to every single vocal line, to every single song. Really an interesting vocalist, a vocalist that merges not just the past of Ross the Boss, but the past of Ross himself in Manowar with the future and present of where this band is and where they're planning on going. So definitely the 2 cornerstones of any Ross the Boss record, alive and well in this compilation, perhaps just with a new face, with a new approach, with a new look, but still same old sound, still same old execution. Now, I really enjoyed this compilation. I really enjoyed this greatest hits because of everything that I just mentioned. My first ever compilation that I purchased, metal compilation that I purchased, was The Hell of Steel by Manowar. That one didn't have the same dynamic. It didn't feel as much as an album as this one does. This one really serves those 2 purposes of giving you the band's best songs, connecting the past with the present, giving you a little bit of a history lesson as you go from song to song, but at the same time making you feel like you're actually listening to a record and not necessarily just a conglomerate of tracks. So really well done as far as the execution, as far as the thought process, and obviously bringing it all together in order to really celebrate 15 years of Ross the Boss. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, these are my favorite Ross the Boss songs, regardless if they were going to be on this record or not. They happened to be, so I was extremely happy to see them delivered in the way that they did. Starting off with We Will Kill. This is classic. I mean, this is an anthem. Thick, heavy riff to start off. The song is meaty at times, and that adds movement to itself. More control perhaps in the verses, a little bit more extroverted in the chorus. The choir backing vocals that they use in the chorus, giving that anthem feel that it was so predominant in the early stages of Manowar, still perhaps a little bit now, but also in the early stages of Ross the Boss. This song is just that epitome of classic heavy metal sound with great vocals, great backing vocals, and then great guitar sound, great solos, old school solo section that merges a little bit more of the old school style of the song with a little bit more of a modern touch that the track also has. Really interesting approach, completing the track, making the song feel full, and allowing this track to have a lot of movement between verses and chorus. But it's a banger, it's an anthem, great guitar sound, great vocals. Like I said earlier, the two cornerstones of any Ross the Boss album, any Ross the Boss song. Next we have Hailstorm. I honestly always enjoy this track. I love the energy that it has. It's a very guitar driven song. It just rips. The guitars really take center stage on this track, creating a fast tempo, allowing the vocals to blend in perfectly well with that tempo, connecting them and kind of carrying them together as one moving forward. A track that has great texture, great bass sound. The bass really pops on this song, and it allows the song to have a little bit more thickness without over thickening it, the overall sound. This is not as big of an anthem style track as We Will Kill. This song feels a little bit more stripped down, but what it loses in volume gains in direction. Is a song that just really takes you where it needs to go. It has a sense of momentum, it has a sense of purpose. The chorus is still very memorable. The chorus still puts an exclamation mark on the song, but it's definitely more of a streamlined style track, but a track that's more about the speed and momentum, and like I said, taking you to where it needs to go. Last but not least, the Born of Fire, a little bit of a more meatier song. It has more sound, it has more volume. The vocals feel a little bit more stretched out. They feel a little bit more raggedy or raspier, if you will, but that matches the overall essence of the track in terms of the sound that it has, in terms of how it comes at you. It still keeps the chorus as the main focus, being a little bit more melodic, allowing the verses to have more intensity, allowing the verses to be more metal, to be a little bit heavier, and then the vocal approach matches that sound perfectly, changing the dynamic from a lot of other songs that have more of an epic delivery to it. This one is more about stretching them out. It's more about creating some heaviness on the vocal side in order to meet the meatier side of the sound. So I really love this song. Born of Fire is a great track. Is a song that offers a lot of great qualities, but is also a song that has more of a modern Ross the Boss style approach in the execution, in the overall soundscape, and in how heavy and thick the guitar sound is. Not as driven, not as direct, not as melodic, not as classic heavy metal as you would expect. Is a song that brings in some more thrashy elements into the guitar sound, into the execution, and that's what gives it that oomph that changes the style, and that the vocals match it so well from start to end. This is it, Ross the Boss with their greatest hits compilation, Legacy of Blood, Fire, and Steel, out April 28th on AFM Records, celebrating 15 years of the band, 4 records in the making. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on this compilation, favorite songs from Ross the Boss. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all there, and be back with another video tomorrow. Take care, guys.